Good day and welcome to a new video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe! Heyo and welcome today. Welcome to this video. And welcome to my channel, my YouTube video. Yeah, feel free to come and subscribe to my channel and check out some of my videos here. Today is something interesting. I'm going to be doing a 90-minute texture study. So 90-minute texture studies I'm going to be doing today. Now it's 90 minutes that I've done over these 4 textures that I'm going to be drawing. So roughly for each texture, it's around about 20-ish minutes. A little bit less than that, but yeah, around about 20-ish minutes per texture. So it's something interesting. I've done textures in the past. I did a texture study a few years back, and it's something I do every now and again, and it's always like when I'm working on artwork and illustrations, it's always an important skill to have to be able to render textures. And I do feel like sometimes some of my illustrations do lack a little bit of that texture, and just understanding the differences between different surfaces and how you can represent different things like fur or jackets or metal, how you can represent them is kind of important to kind of differentiate. Not just, slap a bit of color on it and it's, um, you know, different. Not just, be like, because it's skin color, it must be skin, adding a little bit more to it is definitely very helpful, It should, in black and white, really look, different. Um, Having a little bit of texture does differentiate, skin from clothes and also, metal from clothes. They know that all these bits and bobs they might be wearing that your character's wearing, and yeah. So yeah, I started out with skin, and to start out, I didn't know what I was doing at all with skin. It's not one that comes up too often for me because I don't really draw too many humanoid characters and things like that. I have, painted a few, and it's always a challenging thing. But to show it in this form, in a ball, was challenging as well. It's different from showing it in, say, an arm or leg. You can't. Um, you've got to kind of understand it to show it in a different way. Um, Now, I could have decided to go with a different shape, maybe something more suited towards a, arm, but I decided to go with this challenge. Um, but you see me, I start out and I'm doing all these marks and things, and I'm like, okay, well, this is kind of how texture is working, and um, things like that. I'm figuring things out as I go. And then I'm adding in like all these colors. I'm like overlaying a color, changing a few of the colors and being like putting a little bit more pink and things in there. But then from there I paint on top of that, um, in color and like full color. So I do kind of a black and white concept of what I'm thinking and what I think the texture is like. Yeah, welcome to my stream. Um, yeah, and what the texture is like, and I'm thinking about all the angles. This is streamed on Twitch, and then it's put onto YouTube afterwards. So you can go check that out, and check out my Twitch if you want to, catch me live at some point. I do streams every Tuesday, where I just chillax and paint and do things. Yeah, and that's quite cool too. you know. But yeah, back to the texture study here. I'm kind of adding a little bit more strokes in here as I'm trying to kind of get that pattern that's going on, because I had to go back because my initial idea was to just get images of the arms, so I got like some images of the arms to get the skin from that, and then I found online a skin texture, and I just kind of made that skin texture. It's the texture you kind of see when you're looking. You look at your arm or you look at your hand on the top half of your hand, and you see this patterning when you look up close at your hand. You have that kind of texture. Same with your if you look at but some other body parts are more smoothed out. Your arm seems to have a little bit more, uh, your hand, sorry, has a little bit more wrinkles and things going on. Um, and your arm seems more smoother. You got smoother parts. I guess, but you got more textural parts in other places of your body. Um, so it's interesting how skin can work, and um, I think it's really kind of pulled on the bottom of your arm. It's quite pulled, and it's loose on the top of your arm, so it's got all that kind of texture. As far as I know, I mean, I'm not an expert on this thing. Um, I know a little bit about like it's got some translucency to it, um, and this kind of thing, and understanding what you're painting does help. How light bounces off of it, and all those little aspects of things. Now I don't understand that fully yet. um, and it's interesting here. So I paint all these details and things into this piece, and then I don't think I've done it yet, but then I dial it back, and it pops. It's like, oh, I dial back, how much texture is on there, um, and then it really pops. I'm like, oh my god, what did I do? It actually disturbed me. I'm like, oh, this actually looks like a skin, a ball of skin, which is very creepy, for me. But yeah, it was a good process, in the end. And I recommend. I mean, this is an hour and a half challenge, so if you have the time, you know, see here we start to just fade away some of that detail. It just it just pops in a way. It looks like skin now. Like it goes from this highly rendered like detailed thing, and then I just lose a little bit of detail, um, and it starts to really pop a little bit. And I start to also fix up the tones and a few things here and there, and it just kind of pops a little bit more. It kind of loses the detail in the tones, and that's what I got from the picture of the arm, that it kind of lose a little bit of details, I guess, when it gets darker. Yeah, that's what I kind of noticed, you know, in that texture. And you pick up these things as you go, as you work on different objects of this texture. You might um, look at your skin a little bit more often, and then pick up things of how to paint it. Just it takes quite a few studies of this texture to get it right. Just like with me drawing grass, it did take me a while to really understand how grass works and how to draw it, and how to get better at drawing it, and learning some new techniques and things like that of how to draw it, and then slowly understand a little bit more, and that that's grown over time. Same with growing anything like bushes or cat's fur, or anything. It's definitely over time, doing it through not just rendering skin in balls or squares or whatever you want to do. I saw someone the other day, they did like kind of a juby lolly looking shape. It was like a half a like a pizza, a deep dish pizza or something. It was that kind of shape. Um, kind of not so long of a cylinder. Um, I can't remember all the shapes sometimes. But yeah, not so long a shape. Um, which is interesting. You could do this in many different shapes and forms, and um, yeah, try and get the same result. So a ball was very interesting. I had already kind of pre-rendered them. I did a before I started. I gathered all the reference. Then I created these balls that were just basically rendered very lightly, very quickly. You know, it's only done within 5 or 10 minutes of me doing this ball. Um, yeah, and then I paint on top of that ball the texture basically, and yeah, it depends. That gives me the same kind of shading as every ball's lit in the same way. As far as I know, I could have got some of the lighting wrong. Um, but yeah, and it'll also, with one thing I do see every now and again, just pop up if you're doing texture studies and things like that. Um, each, each object, each texture has a different, reflection ratio, or how they kind of reflect their shadow, and also if light hits them, how it gets off the shape, whether um, some things absorb the light and other things reflect the light. um, so like say a capsicum, I think, absorbs light a little bit more than a metal ball or something like that. The metal ball will reflect it, and it will add that reflection to its drop shadow. Usually, that's the way it works. Usually, um, yeah. So you've got to change your drop shadows with every texture as well. It can't just be the same drop shadow, because it will affect it differently. Like with the wood here, it might be less. Um, it might be less kind of um, less reflective. Wood is less reflective, so it'll have more shadow in the space. Um, yeah. Yeah. Here I'm trying to create the wood. Now I've done quite a few texture of wood. I've done wooden planks, back in the day, when I was learning to draw, when I started to learn to draw. Um, I learnt how to render a few textures, and one of them was wood. So wood is not, I wouldn't say it's a hard one for me, because yeah, I have done it quite a bit. However, rendering it in a ball, which is something I'm not kind of used to, is something, you know, good to practice. I think I did it before in one of my in my last texture study that I did, because I did a texture study, and I did like 6 or 7 of these in that painting that I did of texture studies. Quite a few more than I have now, you know. So, it definitely, I have done a little bit with it, with this texture before, but it's still challenging. You still you may be a master, but sometimes you even you you try in a different light, or you try a new thing with it, and you you don't know, you still, maybe struggle a little bit, or just learn something new sometimes from it. So it's always good to try, a new thing like this. Um, and again, it's kind of not newish because I have done it in a previous study before. But yeah, I think I was a bit faster rendering the wood than I was rendering the human skin ball there. um, and that's just down to practice, I think. I still feel like things could change with this texture. Like I could fix it up a little bit more, or could do something to it. But yeah, it's still feel like I did an alright job with it. As you can see, I'm using a wooden crate for the texture. Now I could have gone and found like a wooden floor, something like that to help me a little bit more. But I was fine with just using the reference I had. I could done something different as well. I could have broken up to different pieces of wood. That might have helped a wee bit. But yeah, I tried my best to make the whole thing look like a piece of wood per se. I don't know how that plays out. I still feel like it might be a little bit need a little bit of work even after I kind of finish it here. And some more lighting or something. I'm not 100% sure on how to fix it. This is where I'll probably um, be showing it to someone else, and they can help me out. Hopefully, it's always good to do that every now and again. Just having someone that can look over your work and give you some advice on it, and um, show you something you didn't quite see. Um, they might have something you don't. They may have had more experience rendering that kind of texture, or creating that kind of piece. They might have something else to offer to it, basically. So it's always good to have someone to look over it. Um, and it's totally up to you what you take from it as well. Uh, whether as a person you get to critique it as actually, a quite a good artist. Um, Sometimes I've had good critiques from people that aren't really artists, and that has helped me quite a bit. Yes, but yeah, but that's all I got for that wood. I see maybe some of my fails in that, and sometimes it's just like that. It's a hit and miss. Whether you get it right or get it wrong, and if you're missing the point, or if you think that it's looking wrong, you get someone else to look at it. Um, Maybe find some answers that are out there. That's always a good one too. If you find someone that's already done this, rendering a wooden ball, how they've done it, and look at that, and that might help you, um, the answer. And that's what's happened here in the water. So I was struggling to try and, show this ball as water. I was really struggling. I was like, oh no, I'm going to take all my time trying to get this ball looking like it's made of water. And I was really struggling at it. I wasn't sure what I was doing. Um, I wasn't sure how the water was going to sit, in it. Um, and then I finally like caved in. And I was like, no, I've got to find a better image. So I found an image of a kind of wave that was in the shape of a ball. So I decided to render that to show the texture of, you know, water. So I ended up doing that. I ended up like trying to see if I could create this into water and how to make it into water. Um, but I completely think I failed at it. And you just do that, and you got to learn from that. Completely failed from it. Um, to learn something from it, and then I go in and yeah, I'd find this image. So I find someone's answer basically, of a ball rendered as water. Um, I mean, I didn't want to do kind of a giant droplet of water. Um, so it is a toughie on how you can do kind of something that's not naturally a circle, like that wood you saw before. It's not naturally a sphere. So there's certain things you can do with it. My initial idea was to have glass and water in the same rendered thing, so it would be, a glass outside, but it would be water in the inside. However, that would have been more challenging. I may do it at some point, it's on my list of things I want to do. Um, However, yeah, it was going to be more challenging. See, here I was working out, I was like, oh, maybe I could have like the water kind of wrapping around the ball. Um, that could have worked, possibly. Yeah, that's one thing I could have done. But then, yeah, I started caving and it'd be like I found someone else's answer basically, and read that. And that's all good, you go like that. Sometimes you still learn because you're painting the texture. Um, and it was a photo. It wasn't like someone else's painted work. Um, so I still am kind of absorbing the texture. I gave it a trial, obviously, before. I've tried to understood how to paint water and how to render it a little bit here. Like, I'm completely failing, and that's the thing. You got to completely fail. Um, to know what's wrong and to understand. Here you can see, I see a ball. I found a ball, and um, it renders out that the top half of that ball. It's completely like water, like physical, like gelatin ball of water. It's the top half is actually dark, and the bottom half's like light because it's catching all the light, where the top part's kind of absorbing, I guess. Which is interesting to see, the bottom catches all the reflection. Um, I guess that's what you see here with the waves. All the waves going in and the movement creates that dark watercolor, that depth, that movement, where the bottom of the sea is completely clear, um, where all the movement going on that creates that darkness. That's what I understand from seeing this and painting this kind of a little bit more. Um, not 100% true. I don't test this out fully, but that's what I understand from it. Um, Less movement going on, more you know. So from there, then I found a solution. You can see the solution here. So, a bit experimental first, and then I completely cave in and do the solution that I found. So, I've done all this study, I've done all this fun, interesting work. I didn't save any of it, I just kind of had fun. I'm not too worried if I lose it. These are studies. And that's what's important about it. They are, they're studies. They're not, meant to be um, something that you can put them in your portfolio if you like. If you have really good textures, if you'd like to show your clients and people looking to hire that you can render these textures really well. Um, but if you're learning, starting out, um, you're just doing them for fun. But yeah, you are, when you're doing studies, you should be like really learning and absorbing what the textures are like, um, most of all. And then, from there, if you want to put them in your portfolio, I would, do them a few times, not just do them once and it'll be like, oh, I've achieved, what wood looks like. I would then, maybe um, deepen it further, do a few renders of it, try it in different situations. Um, you know, water could be an interesting one. If you render water this way, in a kind of ball-like shape, a liquid, you could have it in a cup, you could have it kind of someone, I was thinking of doing one where someone's like water bending it, it was all over the place with it. So showing that you can do a texture, but then trying it in different situations, that reinforces it and it does help you. That's why, doing these texture studies in a ball does help because, you're taking a texture and you're not just kind of copying it in a way. You are kind of understanding it and applying it to something different. But yeah, in this hour and a half, I only managed to do 4 studies. And it's alright, for me. I don't mind understanding them and take my time to understand them. To fail, because I failed the first few times of painting this water. Um, I don't mind doing that. I just go on and do it. And even here, I think what happened is that I kind of was running out of time. But like, I really want to get to doing the 4th texture. So I kind of had to kind of watch my time and just do as much as I can in the water, but still leave enough time that I could do the 4th texture. And then, what I did is I did the 4th texture and I came back and finished a little bit of the water. Um, but yeah, I'd like to do a little bit of water in the future, I think. Um, I think it'll come up at some point, somewhere. Um, where I might have to, paint water. It definitely has come up in the past before. And I still have things to learn about it. It is a challenging thing to understand water. But once I've applied it to quite a few things, I'm starting to recognize a little bit of these things, like, with the movement thing, where water's kind of clumped up a bit. It's kind of more bluey where, there's less of it. Um, it seems to be more clear and calm. When it's clear and calm, it's quite light and see-through and translucent. Um, so yeah, it's always fun to do these things. I had fun in this 90-minute art challenge. And it's always good to do these 90-minute art challenges. For me, it's starting to get me to paint a little bit more as well. Because, with the 90-minute time challenge, I really have to do it within those 90 minutes. I can't be lazy and just be like, oh, we'll do 20 minutes tonight and then tomorrow I do another hour or something. I just go on with it and I just actually paint the whole way through. Consistently paint. Um, yeah, which is all good for these challenges. Yeah. And here, I start doing the metal texture and I'm just kind of scribbling in kind of a base, I guess. Just scribbling in some starting texture because with this metal I'm making it quite it's got like this, I guess, fluffyishness to it if you look close at the texture. Um, yeah, like this grainy kind of middle. So I'm trying to kind of reproduce that. Um, Now, as you can see, I just use a basic brush, and I usually do that with all my things. I don't really use many texture brushes at all. Um, it can help using texture brushes, um, uh, but I do recommend if you do want to learn a little bit more, using just kind of a basic brush does help a lot to understand without having to rely on texture brushes. Um, But yeah, see here I'm going backwards and I'm adding in, you know, that light that's coming out of the ball of water. Because I see the light's hitting the water, but it goes through the water to the bottom basically. And that's what you're seeing here. And I guess some of that light might bounce off when it hits the middle as well. So add that a little bit too. Um, yeah, but yeah, I go back to the middle texture as well. Um, here I'm kind of working on both the textures. I'm working on the middle texture. Um, but I think I completely now work on the middle texture, try to get that finished, and then go back to the water. Here you can see me kind of sectioning it off a little bit, yeah. Adding a little bit more kind of texture to it by kind of doing some cross hatching on top in a way. Kind of a cross hatching technique, as well as going in line with the shape as well. That can be important. Like with my wood there, I went in the lines of the shape, not just straight up and down, you curve around the shape. So I'm trying to curve that texture around the shape. Um, as well as here, in the middle, I think I'm adding a little bit more details. Even in, the shadow is not so dark, in that as well. Yeah. As I mentioned before, welcome to my stream. These streams are on Twitch and then they're on my YouTube channel afterwards, so you guys can check that out. Yeah. And if you guys on YouTube are interested, you can check down below in the comments the description for the Twitch channel, which you can come and watch me either in these live streams, or you can watch me on Tuesday, usually Tuesday night, NZD time, usually about 8:20 now. So around about that time, I usually stream on Twitch on Tuesdays, NZD time. So you have to convert that to what time it'd be for you guys. Yeah. Anyway, I'll keep kind of rendering this middle ball a little bit, entering in kind of a little bit more shadow. As you can see, a little bit of that reflection going on. I'm not 100% sure about that drop shadow, how that would work. It seems, um, yeah, it kind of with that lighting situation, it might not be completely accurate. Um, Thinking where that light is bouncing. Um, I think probably it might still be kind of dark in there because the light's not going in there. So that might not be as accurate, come to think of it now, but you make these mistakes, you'll learn from them. And again, getting someone else to look at it to kind of just, yeah, show you what's going on, what you might have gone wrong, and how to fix it up. Yeah. And here I'm losing detail in the darkness and I'm losing detail in the lightness to keep that middle tone is where all the detail is. That's what I'm trying to achieve here because from looking at some of these textures, it looks like in the darkness you do use texture and the same as in the light. Excuse me. In the light, you do lose a lot of texture. Um, yeah. So go back to the water from here. Go back into the water and just kind of finish that water off because I don't think it's finished and I'm not exactly 100% happy with it. It's still, I still feel it needs work even now that I've kind of caught it finished per se, but I did run out of time. I only had an hour and a half to render all these four. And really, I could have used an hour and a half to do that water. Um, I might have gotten close if I didn't fail so much. But it is what it is, and I did learn from it. And I think that's the biggest thing you can do, is learn from your studies. I'm doing these just to learn from them. I'm not doing them to create another piece in my portfolio or something like that. Um, However, it would be nice to have maybe that in my portfolio for some things I might apply for that I can render different textures and things. Um, it definitely does help, but for now, I'm still kind of learning this thing and um, yeah. I might do some more. I was thinking about doing more as well. I was thinking, how many could I actually achieve within an hour and a half? And I was like, I'll give myself four, and that's what I do. I do four. And that was perfect. An hour and a half, I did four, quite well without rushing through them, with failing a little bit, but still kind of getting them achieved enough. Um, but yeah, not rushing through them, just understanding them a little bit better and how the texture works. So an hour and a half to do four wasn't too bad. But I was like, oh, I want to do all these textures. um, but I could, um, again in the future do another one of these. But I might. I was thinking maybe every now and again, um, I could just, you know, do it half hour of one texture every so often, couple of weeks or something, every week, whatever it is, just doing one of these ball studies maybe every now and again. Because at the moment, I've got this time, at the moment it's pretty good. I only have to do like an hour and a half, 90-minute art challenge thing, which I'll be doing for the next few weeks. It's just a 90-minute art challenge um, of a few things here and there. And then my weekly tips, which can be hit or miss, whether it's take me, half an hour to do the drawing or an hour and a half to do the weekly tips. But it usually doesn't take me too long to do the weekly tips. So I haven't got a lot going on. Um, so with that, but also I got to edit my book and get that all kind of finished and put together. Um, but I'm gradually doing that, so that gives me a little bit of time where I can do a couple of things here and there. Um, and it's good, it's good to just do some little painting studies and things because it does help. If you really do understand what you're painting, how to paint it, it's much quicker to, to paint it the second time round that you need to paint it. You'll be much faster. So just taking some time out to understand what you're going to be painting and things like that does help in the future. Um, and it's always good. And that's what I think with weekly tips does as well. I'm understanding these animals and creatures that I'm drawing and rendering. That does gradually help me a lot when I'm starting to draw other things, draw creatures, do my drawings. Do these random drawings every day. Well, not every day, about 5 days a week, about 4 days a week. Sorry. Um, Monday to Thursday usually. Dependent. Sometimes it's like this week I've been at home. I was at home Monday doing my painting, um, and things. So I didn't do that drawing. But those other days I was doing those drawings, and I do those drawings at work, at my lunch break. And it's you know every now and again I draw from the knowledge I've learned from doing the weekly tips, or sometimes just these 90-minute art challenges and things that I do. I draw from that knowledge and just draw from that, which is awesome to have in my library in my bank. So, you know, thanks for joining me for this drawing here, this 90-minute texture study challenge. um, I feel like I did okay. I feel like some of it I have a bit to learn on. Metal, wood, I feel like all of them I still have a little bit to learn. But yeah, thanks for joining me. Again, this was streamed on Twitch, so you can find that in the description. It's uploaded on YouTube, so thanks for checking out my YouTube video. Keep drawing, everyone. Keep creating, and see you in the next video.